There's really no news today. I think there was a company that's releasing a new underwater housing for Leica M6. So if you are a Leica M6 photographer and are interested in underwater photography, check it out. In other news, I got scammed. And this is alleged. Okay, it might not have been the case. I might not be getting scammed, but I'm like 99.9% sure. Annoyed with myself, really, because at the end of the day, I just have myself to blame. Basically, I've been doing really good lately. Selling a lot of stuff, getting stuff out, and feeling good. I feel like a weight has been lifted. I'm hoping that, was it end of July, maybe like mid-September, I can do here's my film camera collection and have it be a video that's not, 2 hours long, which is big for me. I have many film cameras, a lot of parts, a lot of other stuff, whatever. I've not been buying anything else. I've just been selling. It's nice. I feel good. I went on eBay though, and I just saw this screaming deal for a Bronica SQA. The lens, prism, had the film back, and I was like, this is fantastic. I would love another Bronica to use. I like them a lot. Another medium format camera to kick around. Could make a video about it. And then ultimately too, they hold their resale value, so I can clean it up and then sell it and, be good. So I go ahead and buy it. On eBay, there's like a little tag that says like, buy with confidence. You've bought from the seller before. And I could swear to you up and down that little tag was there. So I was like, oh, well, this deal, maybe too good to be true. Maybe it doesn't work quite as well as they want it to. So they're not like trying to have the price super high. But it looks like I bought from the seller before. So we should be good. Problem soon arose a few days later when I was like, oh, it's kind of weird because typically at this point, a lot of sellers will at least generate the shipping label and get the thing ready to go, and then eBay notifies you, hey, your item's on the way, and then you have like the tracking number, blah blah blah. And I was like, that's kind of weird, but I was like, I'll just leave it for another few days. Like, I'm not in a rush. Like, I've got plenty of other cameras to shoot with. I got lots of work to do. It'll be fine, right? Then I'm like, a few days after that, I'm thinking, okay, now this is kind of getting a little bit weird. I know as somebody who sells stuff on eBay, I get bitched at pretty hard when I don't get it shipped out in like a timely manner. So I'm like, okay. And maybe I'll reach out to the seller. So I pull it up and click on the message seller, and it's like, oops, can't do that. Doing it on my phone. My phone's like, no internet. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm at home. I got Wi-Fi. Like, I have internet. So I go back. I try again. No internet. I'm like, oh, okay, weird. So I close out eBay, open it back up again, try again. No internet. Okay. All right, cool. It's just a weird thing. A few hours later, I'm like thinking about it again. I'm like, oh, I'll try on my computer. Can't do that. It just said, nope, can't contact seller. I'm like, interesting. Then I go to try to find the listing, because sometimes you can like click on the listing after you've bought it, and it'll say like, oh, this item's already sold, but you scroll down, you can like kind of go through it all again, because I was like, I wonder when this was supposed to get here. And it was supposed to arrive on Friday to today, Monday. Still no shipping information, still no tracking code. It's just kind of poof, gone. Now I'm thinking, I think this is a little bit fishy. It's a little fishy. So I go to try to find the seller, and I can't through the contact. It's like, the seller doesn't exist anymore. I'm like, okay, monster. I'm like, okay, interesting. So then I go through like an incognito tab on my laptop and can't find the seller there either. Which I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. I type in the company. I type in the seller's name, and because they don't exist on eBay anymore, and it's a little bit pivotal to the story, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. And this isn't me trying to like dox them or like drag the company through the mud, but it's pivotal. You'll find out why. It's called Monster Deals. And this one was Monster-Deals 3. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a Monster-Deals 2 or Monster-Deals or whatever. I ended up finding Monster Deals as a pawn shop in the Illinois area, which makes sense because the item that I purchased is allegedly going to be shipped from Illinois. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's what this is. Somewhere along the way, though, I managed to find the seller through searching it directly on Google, and it basically was like, oh, seller is out of town until August 23rd. And that definitely pops up before you buy something and be like, hey, seller's out of town, items will ship late. But that didn't show up. And also, if it did show up, then I'd be able to contact the seller. I'd be able to find the seller. But the fact that it says seller doesn't exist when I go through my item order history, it's a little fishy, right? Okay. Then after all this, I think, well, let me just fucking straight to the horse's mouth here. Monster Deals. What's the deal here? Look up Monster Deals, see the business site, and I see like they've got a couple stores in Illinois, and I'm like, okay, interesting. One in Springfield, and I think that's the one I got this from, whatever. So I'm like, okay, that tracks. That's who I got this from. So then I go Monster Deals scam. Because I'm just thinking to myself, maybe this is like a thing that like Monster Deals has been on eBay, I guess, since like 2011. It's a reputable seller, reputable whatever. So, maybe other people are latching onto that and trying to like, sell. And then once they get the money, they delete the account or whatever. And what happened was, it looks like, according to WCIA News, and this was July 25th, 2024, so fairly recently. Springfield Pawn Shop was served a search warrant on Tuesday as part of an ongoing investigation into like this impersonation scam that's being run, I guess, somewhere in Illinois. Reporters saw investigators at Monster Pawn carrying items out of the store. Maybe my camera. Maybe it's a special delivery, right? Probably not. So I don't really know what to do with this information. It's a little bit embarrassing, I'm not going to lie. But my thought is that because there's no news today, that this would be a fun thing to share with all of you at home. Went through eBay, filed a thing that like didn't receive the item. And I was like, I'm concerned that this is a bit of a scam. So hoping I get my money back, but we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. If not, who knows? Maybe the police department's going to deliver my camera to me. Also, in other news, 5K subscribers. That's awesome. Thank you all for subscribing. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Join the number there. Also, shout out to the Bronco Buddies for supporting the channel, supporting me. Appreciate all of you as well. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of story time. I'm going to now kind of go on a bit of a rant. I was talking to a buddy of mine about the reusable, disposable film camera stuff. I also got a comment on one of my older videos referring to like the older Kodak M35, and they're like, man, it's crazy watching this in 2024, and like now this camera's worth like $10. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so that reusable, disposable, and then also the cine film that has the remjet washed off. I think a few things about it. I think on one hand, it's cool to see other companies doing it. Like when Cinestill dropped like the lawsuit or whatever, like threatened to sue Cat Labs and Reflex Labs and all the other companies for basically doing what Cinestill does. I was like, that's kind of lame. I think that there should be competition in this market because Cinestill's prices are and always have been incredibly high, even though the product that they produce is not really their own. Like, it's technically their own because changing a Kodak product, I just have a hard time to imagine the fact that they're not just printing money, basically. I know that, like, Kodak bulk 35mm film is probably not the cheapest thing in the world, but if you think about, like, a 400-foot reel of it, and then how many rolls of 35 you can make from it, kind of minimal labor, especially when you get a system going to wash the remjet off, and when those are selling for, like, $20 a roll thereabouts, like, it's pretty hard for me to see that that is not just a lot of profit that they're making, which is great. They found a corner of the market. Cool. But now it's like, it feels like every time I open up Instagram, it's like a new company's released a new kind of film, And it's just the same thing over and over again, just like where the market is right now. But I just have a hard time enjoying that because it just feels like incredibly exploitative. Instead of bringing new products and, experimenting in new things, instead of doing that, it's just kind of like, hey, look, we slapped a cool decal on this. Buy it. It's so much more of like the lifestyle based salesmanship as opposed to the actual product, which I think I find really obnoxious because it's the exact same product, but instead of like pitching something new, they're like pitching like, if you're a hip, cool, trendy guy or hip, cool, trendy gal, you want a fun film for the summer, buy from us. It feels like cheap to me, I guess. And I've just been seeing this pop up a lot, and it's just kind of my opinion on it, where I'm just getting tired of it. Like, I love film. I love shooting film. I love talking about film. It feels like week in and week out, there's progressively companies or whatever that are starting up, see people's passion for film as something that they can exploit as opposed to fuel. And I get that. Like, from a business mindset, when you have a fervent consumer base, then yeah, fucking frack that. You know what I mean? Like, just fucking drill in and get it all out. Like, that's what you do. That's, as a business, your goal is to maximize profits. So by all means. As a consumer, as a user, it's like, it feels very disingenuous. It feels like it's a goofy enough hobby as it is to get into film photography. Like, it's a really hard sell. I try to explain to people, and like, some people get it, other people don't, other people won't, and that's fine. But like, it's a hard sell getting into film. But then when you like look at the companies that kind of make up the more professional component of the ecosystem, it's like, what are we doing here? We have Kodak, which makes virtually all of the film, right? And then we have all these other little, like, the like images of a shark, like a great white shark in the ocean, and then they got all those like other little fish that just kind of like float around and just kind of hang out. Got a bunch of those little companies and stuff. And again, not to like disparage these companies. Please sponsor me. I'm happy to change my tune for the right amount of money. But it's like all of these little companies. And then, there's Ilford kind of doing their thing, Orwo kind of doing their thing, Ferrani doing their thing, Fuji exploiting the labor laws in China. I don't know, but like, it feels like it's such a strange place. And I'm still kind of working through the Pentax 17 video because it's a lot, but in the process of talking about that camera, I'm kind of thinking about the modern film industry and kind of where we're at now, comparing that to the past. I just don't think there's as much fun in film as there used to be. It's not fun anymore. It's expensive. It's a chore almost. And that might just be because I'm also trying to create stuff and, talk about it week in and week out, but like, it's not as fun. And there's very few times in which I'm like actually having that kind of fun. And I think there's like certain times where I'm like actively trying to pursue just that amount of fun that I used to have like years ago when it was just, kind of cheap to shoot film and just kind of whatever. But now it feels like different. It feels weird. And it feels like, I don't know. I just have a lot of thoughts, and a lot of these are kind of more personal than anything else. Like, I don't think that this is going to be broad strokes how a lot of other people are feeling. I think maybe with like the Cinestill-esque companies, I think some people might agree on that front, because I just find that to be very bizarre how they're like, oh, look, our new product, it's the same as all these other products, but it has a different name. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you're not you're not doing anything. There's the film Washi guy. He's lives in France, I think. That dude like fucking hand paints film. Like, he hand paints the emulsion of film onto the paper backing or whatever it is. Like, it's a whole thing. He does that by himself. He produces his own film. I think he still does. I've not spoken to him in a while. But like, that is cool. Like, that is passion. That is like creativity. That's all of these things. Hey, like, we just bought a bunch of Kodak film, washed the remjet off, and put a sticker on the canister. It's different. It just feels kind of different. It's a very interesting market. I'm not trying to like cause a ruckus. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot recently. There's some that are out there like Reflex Labs or Flick Film that are like doing that, but then also charging a lot less. So it's like, that's awesome. I think that's great, because they're like, yeah, we're going to do everything that you're doing, but like charge less so people can actually afford to shoot it, which I think is cool. I'm not going to go any further down this tangent, but I got scammed. I'm just trying to help you all not get scammed. How's that for coming back around to the point? Anyway, that is all for today's video. Thank you again for watching. Appreciate it as always. And Pentax 17 review coming soon. It's yeah.